when you create this space and environment for yourself, external and internal both, and you love it, you're in love with your life, you are so much more motivated to go do, be, and have more. Hello, hello. I'm Amira Alvarez, founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman. And welcome to today's episode on the Unstoppable Woman podcast. We are here. I am here with Sarah Hockett on my team. She is the mastermind behind this podcast and does everything behind the scenes and is now coming forward in front of the scenes to ask me a few questions, go deeper, dive deeper into our episode on the problem with good enough. And so I'm going to turn over the reins to Sarah, and she's going to lead the way in this interview.
All right, jumping in. Good morning. So in this episode, you talk a lot about the balance between being content and being grateful and being satisfied and kind of the difference between those. And I don't think we need to go over the difference. I think you covered that really well in the episode, which if you haven't listened to the episode, please go listen to that episode. But I want to ask you personally, how do you find your balance between being grateful for everything that you have and wanting more?
It's a really good question. Thank you for asking it. I don't think that there is I don't think there's one particular trick. I'm just highly aware of when I fall out of what I call heaven. I believe that heaven is our natural state. Feeling good is our natural state. Being thriving, excited, enthusiastic, delighted with our lives is our natural state. And if I feel myself dropping out of that, maybe it's irritation, maybe it's resentment, maybe it's frustration, maybe it's overwhelm, I realize that I have dropped out of my natural state of feeling amazing, and I have to get back into gratitude for everything that is. And so I use that feeling state, that vibration state, as a litmus test for myself to help myself remember, oh, look, you're out of that place of gratitude and excitement, and you're in a place of somewhat resistance or irritation or negativity, and to flip a switch, go back to gratitude, and then put my eye on the prize. Where am I going? What do I want to achieve? That piece about never being satisfied, it doesn't mean never be satisfied and be irritated with yourself and disappointed and resentful and all of that. It's like, oh, where am I going? Oh, let's remember that. Let's remind ourselves of that. Let's get back in the groove on that. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. Do you have a specific tell sometimes, like where you're like, oh, I see that I'm doing this, like I need to kind of get out of that mindset? Do you have something that kind of tips you off that you need to shift a little bit?
I think it's all of the things I just said, really. Sometimes it's a sense of irritation, and then I have to pause and go, okay, why am I irritated right now? And then honestly, I look and I realize, oh, well, I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve today, or I wasn't able to close out a project, or I had too much on my calendar today and I don't feel like I was successful. All of that is nonsense, right? It's a perspective piece. Okay. It's how we look at it. And so I adjust my perspective on it, because often I've done huge things. Okay. So I take a pause there, and I look at how I'm feeling, what it is, but it is those things. It's like slight irritation, slight disappointment, slight overwhelm, little resentments here and there. I use all of those. And what used to be a norm for me of sort of a high level of this, even though I had a great attitude and I thought I was like really super positive, I was in that vibration, if you will, that feeling state more often than I recognized. And when I started using the concept of holding myself to a higher standard, I made sure that whenever I felt that, I moved through it in a very conscious way, thinking about how to shift this, how I was really interpreting the situation and how I could reinterpret it in order to release myself of that negative feeling state and move into a more positive feeling state. And holding myself to that standard and continuously doing that has been revolutionary for me. And so now, one thing that's very clear is that my gauge is much more fine-tuned than it used to be, right?
Good thing.
Yes, absolutely. And I make that switch much quicker. Like I have a lower tolerance for allowing myself to go into that place. Like it's just unacceptable for me now.
Well, that's a really good answer. So kind of a follow-up question to the same thing. You've always been a very ambitious person, but you haven't always been the unstoppable woman. So before your life as the unstoppable woman, before your fine-tuned gauge, have you ever had a time in your life where you submitted to good enough?
Oh, absolutely. Where do you want me to start? Okay. So one point of clarification that I would like to make, Sarah, is that I consider myself unstoppable now, but there are a lot of women who are unstoppable. Like I am not the only one. Okay?
Absolutely.
And so when I hold that concept up, be unstoppable, the unstoppable woman, it's not just me. It's like, how do we all become people who go after our dreams and close the gap on time and do it faster and faster? I'm constantly talking to my clients, and every single conversation is around like, let's not do this in 3 weeks. Let's do this afternoon after this call. And things get done so much quicker. And this is how people quantum leap their lives and businesses. And it's phenomenal. I watch it all the time. But it requires that you not get stuck in a story about how long things take. So I went off on a little tangent there, but your question really was previously, where did I see myself as unstoppable? But really I was stopping. Is that the question?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the question. Like where are some of those areas before where you were like, yeah, this is awesome. I've got this. It's perfect. I don't need to go any further.
Okay. So I know we're doing a relationship episode coming up, and I know that we have an episode coming up where I talk about my divorce. And I think that's an interesting place to, like, I'm planting a little seed for that for the future for people for people to listen to, because I think they're both going to be amazing episodes. I know the divorce one was. We've already recorded that one. But that is a place where I certainly had a good enough attitude. Now, I want to be very clear. It was a great relationship. Okay. We had a lot going on. We partnered really well together. We were simpatico in so many ways. And yet there were some key places where it wasn't good enough. I mean, it was just good enough. It wasn't exceptional, delightful, lit up, sexy, hot, intimate, all of that stuff. And I had to really evaluate that. And I'm not pro-divorce, just for the record. I'm very much pro-love and pro-relationship, and I'm pro more life for everyone. And was this relationship giving us exceptional, or was it just good enough and we were staying committed to each other because of some beliefs around, what this meant? There's so much to say about that. And I realize that I'm just touching the surface of it. But in that relationship, lots of things were really, really, really good, but it wasn't exceptional. And, are you okay with that? And have you done the work in whatever situation you're in, whether it's in your business good enough, in your relationships good enough, in your health good enough, that you've actually put in all the love and attention and personal responsibility and effort and diligence to get it to great? And if you haven't, that's where obviously you need to start. So relationship stuff, I think, is a big place. I also think around my health. I was carrying 30 extra pounds around, and I loved myself. I thought I was beautiful, but I was carrying 30 extra pounds around. So that was like good enough, but it wasn't exceptional. My physical, athletic if that's a word, fitness level, I think that's a place where I'm at good enough right now. I'm not at exceptional. That's like my current experience where I'm in good shape. I have a good level of fitness. It is good enough. Like I don't feel like I'm out of shape, but it's not exceptional. And so that's a place where I'm learning, I'm growing. And then I use this all the time in my business. So on the business front, whether it's from a sales perspective or content creation perspective, you know this, Sarah, we're constantly having conversations in our marketing meetings and one-on-one around like, how can we do this better? Like there is not, I really don't have a, this is good enough attitude. We might have a, like, we need to get this out right now. Like, okay, this will be good enough for now, but the next level standard is going to be here. And that's constantly growing. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I really I really loved your answer on that one because you went in the direction of a whole life as a whole, not just like the business aspect. And I think at the end of the day, you're the upgrade your entire life coach, not just the let's focus on just your business, because they go hand in hand. And having that mindset for is this good enough in every aspect of your life is the best way to keep leveling up everything. If you want to level up your house, whatever it is. I love that. I love the answers that you took there with, relationships and with your health. By the way, what's your next big ass health goal?
Oh, I don't know yet. That's the honest answer, Sarah. I wish I was sitting here saying to you, oh gosh, I'm calling myself out on this. It hasn't dropped in for me yet. I thought it was going to run another marathon. I thought, I don't know what that is. From a fitness perspective, I have a weight goal. That came to me very crystal clear. So let me answer it in a different way, because maybe I'm cutting myself short here. I don't have the next sort of athletic goal clear in my mind. Okay. I will admit to that. However, I do have a very clear vision of the body I desire and the kind of energy I desire and the kind of food I am putting in my body. So I have a very clear vision of me eating certain foods and me being, activated in my nutrition in a particular way, wearing a bikini in a particular way, and living that life. Now, here's the thing. I love my body. I think I take amazing care of my nutrition right now. And that's the gratitude for what exists. But I have a next level goal. Okay. And I can see that. And I actually have a vision board about it. And it's well on its way of getting there. And let me talk about this a little bit more from a creation perspective, if you will, because it's current right now. I realized that I had this vision, and I had in my mind currently that the way that I've really, released weight and felt more energetic, and I'm like the Energizer Bunny, so we're talking like next level energy.
You very much are, yes.
Yeah. Has been on a very low carb, keto, almost carnivore type diet. And I've been trying to do that in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's been not working for me. I've been in resistance to it. It's been hard to implement. It hasn't been easy in the way that it's been so easy in the past. And it's because I have in my mind's eye a different vision of health and fitness. And in the last couple of days, I just was like, okay, screw it all. I'm going to that vision right now. And the weight's dropping. Crazy, right? Except it's not crazy because we build a vision of how we want to live our lives first. It gets embedded into our subconscious mind, and that's what gets executed. So I had already embedded this into my subconscious for weeks, months now. And I was doing something that was counter to what I was programming myself to execute on. Once I got back in alignment with, doing the thing that I had said I wanted to do and being in alignment with the programming that I had created for myself, easy peasy lemon breezy.
Now you're seeing the movement in the right direction.
Correct. It's amazing,
Well, similar, like moving on kind of from that, in the episode, you mentioned the importance of having your wants on board and going after those wants as well as the needs. You talked about the specific example you cited was, oh, if you need a new roof and you know that you're going to need a new roof within the next 2 years, but gosh, you really just want to redo your living room into this beautiful, beautiful space. I know that people are going to listen to that and go, that's insane. Like, you need the new roof. So I really want you to talk to that a little bit more about why that's important to also go after the wants and not just the needs.
Such a good question. So here's the thing. You need to do both. Okay. Like, of course, you don't want your roof to start leaking, and that's completely impractical, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's not be an ostrich with our head in the sand. Okay? But that said, when you create the environment that you love, when you actually create an environment, let's talk about it as people, your home, your business, what you do for a living, how you spend your time, your emotional health, your physical health, like all of this. When you create this space and environment for yourself, external and internal both, and you love it, you're in love with your life, you are so much more motivated to go do, be, and have more. So it's not that you don't do both. It's that you create a beautiful living room for yourself. You are lit up by that. You keep taking the actions. You make more money in your business, and you put the new roof on. It's an and more lifestyle. And absolutely. I did this with my office. Okay. Years ago, I was in an office. I was very grateful for having my own office space and not working out of the living room. Like again, to this point of like being grateful for what is, but also reaching for more. I was also dissatisfied with the space. It was a bunch of pull together furniture, and it didn't elevate me. It didn't feel next level. It didn't feel like I had my act together. It felt like I was cobbling things together. And so I went and I spent a goodly amount of money on furniture and doing it all at once and not piecemeal. So it all looked great. By the by, if people haven't listened to the Deconstructing Freedom episode that we have on Jamie Kern, thank you. I backflipped it. Jamie Kern Lima. Please do. There's a whole section in there where she talks. She talks about, and I tell her story about when she was going after loans for her business, and they were doing site visits, and they were working out of their living room and apartment. She went out and bought new furniture to up-level the energy and to show the loan officer that they had their act together. Well, it's more an energetic thing than an actual physical thing, but it worked. Okay. And she used her last money to do that. I used almost my last money to do the office upgrade. Yet I felt like $1 million freaking bucks once I did that. And then I started selling at a higher level. It's not a coincidence. There are no coincidences. Now, I want to be super clear with people. This is not magic sprinkles stuff. You don't go buy office furniture and like stare at the ceiling and hope that money's going to fall from the sky. There are actions that you need to take in your business as well. Okay. They're synergistic though, and they're not unrelated. Make sense?
Makes total sense. I mean, I've actually experienced that in my own life. It's a vibrational thing. It's like, well, I'm the person that drives the nice car. I'm the person that has the pool out back. I'm the person that has the big house. You know, it's those things that make you feel like, okay, let's go just crush some stuff.
Absolutely. And so we need that inspiration, and then we need to map it to the things that are required, like the roof and the new windows and all that. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to ask this also. So I know that there are a lot of people in the world who have just such a negative view of money and success. I mean, in my local area, there's a whole lot of affluence, and there's kind of no in between. There's, the people that work at one level, and then there's the people that have the multi-million dollar homes. And the unfortunate thing that I see a lot is I see people saying that those people are wrong or they're bad, and they're lovely human beings. They give to charities, they do wonderful things for other people. And yet that's not seen, that's not perceived by a lot of people. Why do you think there are so many people that feel that money and success is wrong or bad?
So there's a variety of ways to answer this. This could be, 5 podcast episodes, Sarah. So maybe we need to put that in the queue. But the thing that's coming to me today to share is that oftentimes when you don't know how to create something yourself, you make it wrong because you don't want to be wrong. And people have they have some core beliefs of like, I'm not wrong or I need to be right. And they might be thinking, I am wrong and I need to prove that I'm not wrong internally. And it's quite subtle, but if you start making other people wrong for how they live their lives, what they're doing, that is a judgment, quite frankly, against yourself. And most people, when they're in that, they don't even realize that they're in that. It's just such a matter of habitual thinking. But if you can bring a light to that and start noticing when you're making other people wrong, you will see that it is usually because you don't want to be wrong. And around money, if you don't know how to make money, how to up-level your life, if that is something you want. And most people do want to make more money. They do want to have more spaciousness and ease around money and not be scared or afraid of their bills or when their next paycheck is coming or the fact that they could be fired at any time or any of these things. And so when we don't know how to do that and we look out there and we think they know something that I don't know, it causes us to feel like we might be wrong. And we don't want to feel that. So we make them wrong and what we're doing just fine, right. And there's that. And then we start the justification process of, what I have, my life is good enough. And that brings us back to the topic of this episode that we're unpacking. And we don't want to negate the beautiful life, the existence that you already have. And if you want more, own that. Want more and look at that and say, how did they do that? What do I need to do? How come it's not happening for me? And go get the answers. This is what I did. I had to go get the answers and then execute on them and not be in resistance, not say like, I had to admit my way wasn't working. It was working to a degree. It was getting me good enough, but my way wasn't working for that next level exceptional life, whatever you're going after. I have clients that are going after horse farms. I have clients that are going after moving to California. I have clients that want to buy a beach house and move. Like, it doesn't have to be only like, I want to make X amount of money, but money is in service to those dreams and what you want. So how do you do that? What are you going after? And own that desire, really own that desire and eliminate the stance of this is good enough. Appreciate it, but go for what you want. And don't make those people who might have what you want or some version of what you want wrong.
I want to touch another thing on that because I also hear a lot of people who do want to do those things and they make their own excuses. They'll look at the people who have done it and say, well, they started here or they started there. And I want to point back to in a recent morning mindset club that we had going over Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You had a quote that you pulled out very specifically, and it was talking about how you cannot judge the world from your own perspective of what's possible. And going back to the beginning of our conversation where you said everyone can be an unstoppable woman, I want you to touch a little more on that, because I want you to touch on the fact that everyone can be an unstoppable woman, no matter where you have started. Can you speak a little bit more to that? Because it's not where your opportunity started. Like, you know, a little bit of my story, and you know that's a full reason why I think there's no excuses to think they just started in a different place. So can you speak a little bit more to that, and how and why it's possible for every single woman to be an unstoppable woman?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. There are too many examples, stories, not made up stories, real life stories of people rags to riches. Okay. People who started with no education, never got an education, a formal education. People who made it big later in their life rather than earlier in their life, or earlier in their life rather than later in their life. So it doesn't matter what story you're using. There is an equal and opposite story that shows you that that's not an excuse, because someone else did it. And if one person can do it, so can you. Because each of us are born with all the capacity to become the full expression of ourselves. Yet we are limited by conditioning and by our programming. You must address that. If you want more in your life, you must address the programming and act consistently to what you want, not what you're programmed to believe you can achieve. And when you do that, you can have anything you want. Do we know the time period? No. If you're saying I'm making 0 and I want to make $1 billion this month, I'm going to tell you that's probably insane. But if you're making 0 and you want to make 500, or you want to make 1,000 this month, which would be a huge stretch, okay? Going from 0 to 1,000, that's possible. But you have to understand the creative method. You have to understand how goals are achieved. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. I love that answer. One last question for you, and then we'll wrap it up. A lot of people are very high achieving people, and they get to that thing and they think, yeah. Do you think there's a slippery slope between being contented and dropping into being satisfied?
Oh my God, yes. Oh gosh. Ask me how I know. Okay.
How do you know?
So absolutely. The one of the big things that I've learned around goal achievement and being unstoppable and going for more is to always have that next level goal set for yourself before you achieve your current goal. And that seems backwards or complicated or distracting, but it's not. It's like, I know I'm achieving this. I need to set this next level goal. So the two places that this happened for me in the last few years have been, around the marathon. I ran the marathon. I had that as my big goal. I didn't have my next level goal from that. I stopped running after a few months after the marathon. It just I didn't have a place I was going. And now I know that doesn't work. Okay. Same thing with hitting my first big financial target. Once I did that, I was like, oh, okay, good. And I couldn't grasp, I didn't have the next juicy goal for myself. And it's not the only reason, but I kind of plateaued for a little while. And so learning from those two experiences, I always set next level goals even before I achieve my current ones, because I know that there's this dip afterwards. So it's not about moving the goalposts. It's about really believing, oh, I know I'm getting, I can see the end of the race, the light at the end of the tunnel. I know I'm achieving that, and setting the next big thing that's going to pull you over the edge to get you past your current goal faster and into the next level and next level and next level.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I mean, it goes right back to our person making 0 wanting to go to 1,000. If one day they want to make $1 billion, you got to start with 1,000. But in your mind, I'm going to get that 1,000. I'm going to move and move and move, and then I'm going to get that $1 billion.
If that's what you want,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. Do you wanna wrap us up?
Sure. This was a great question, Sarah. Thank you for posing them. And uh, I'd like to let everyone know that the big takeaway here is not to cut yourself down at the knees and say you're not good enough. Okay. Because that doesn't serve us. But to really look at where you're saying, oh, this is good enough, or I can hang out here, or I don't need to grow, or I don't need to ask for more, or I don't need to become more. And to really like question those places, not from a place of making yourself wrong, but a place from a place of saying, I'm I've got this one life to live and I want to fully execute on my potential. And if I'm going to do that, I need to keep growing at every day, every minute, at every opportunity. And so stay in that place of growth and release out the good enough. Okay, that's what I got for you today. Rock it out and be unstoppable. Take care. Bye bye. Hey, thanks so much for joining us and being part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. We have got a ton of free resources for scaling your business at theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And you can find that link in the description below. So go ahead and check those out. And we'd also love your help in getting our message out to more and more women. If you'd be willing to share this video with all the unstoppable women in your life, that would be fantastic. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Reviews, likes, and comments are greatly appreciated. We go in and read them all. So thank you for those. And thanks for listening, and be unstoppable.